Hi everyone, Emily here from Emily's Excellent Epics, and today I have for you January 2026 reading wrap up. Cannot believe January is over. But here we are. It's February 1st. So, before we get started, just a little stats. I'm going to go over. I'm trying to Hobonichi weeks for my reading journal this year, just because I felt like I got overwhelmed with the Always Fully Book Planner. Loved it, but there was a lot. There was a lot to it. So I'm still playing around with how I want to use my monthly spread. Like I tried to write and color coordinate all the different books I was reading, and then the intent was I'm gonna highlight, like, each book will have a different color, and I'll highlight the day when I read that book. And there's some days where I read like 4 books, and I was like, it got too much. I also, you might see like, oh look, there's what I was planning on posting videos. That fell apart. But my TBR also kind of fell apart in January for reasons. So at the start of January, I started off with 796 books total owned in my library. 333 of those were read, 463 were unread, which meant that I had 58.17% unread books. In January, my goal is to bring that number down. We shall see if that happened or not. Now, I will say this. This morning I updated my spreadsheet, and I did update them to include, or it did update my spreadsheet to include the books that I ordered from Aardvark and Book of the Month for February. So those are all already included in the end of the month stats. So in January, I read 14 books. That sounds amazing. However, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of those books were not physical books. So there's that. I read 14 books, a total of 4,297 pages. Average pages per day was 138. The average page count was 307. So we shall see what my end totals are. So without further ado, let's get started with the books. So the New Year's Day, I decided to do the 24-hour reading challenge for the hardest reading challenge you'll ever do. So basically that prompt was you start whenever you wake up and you just start reading all day. And then when you go to sleep for night, that's when your clock stops. And the goal is to read as much as you can in those 24 hours. Now, you can take a nap, but like once you go to sleep for the night, that's it, you're done. So I did read This Time Next Year by Sophie Cousins, and I thought it was very appropriate because this takes place New Year's Eve over the course of years. Minnie Cooper and was born on New Year's Eve, and she always has considered herself unlucky because Quinn Hamilton won the prize for being the first baby born on New Year's Day. He was given that cash prize and was also given the name that her mother was planning on for her. And they meet at a New Year's Day party on their 30th birthday, and she just sees more and more evidence of like, man, you have been blessed and lucky in life. I have not been. And so they just keep meeting each other. Of course, romance ensues. I did enjoy this. I should note, this does include mental health representation of a parent. It includes death of a child. So just in the past, just be aware of that, those trigger warnings. I did enjoy this. I thought the relationship was fine. I thought the mental health aspects was great, was a nice development. Would I read this again? No, I won't. I thought it was a good book. I enjoyed it. I think I gave it 4 stars. It's just not something that I will go back to because I felt like while the themes I thought were developed, I've had better development of those themes in romance novels. Abby Jimenez, I'm looking at you, like where they emotionally resonate for me better. So again, I enjoyed this. I do recommend it, but this is going to go in my Pango shop because I cannot keep everything. Which, ooh, I did not delete that from my library, so my stats might be a little different. That's okay. Then that New Year's Day, I also read A Spark Within the Forge. This is by Sabaa Tahir, Nicole Edelfinger, and Sonia Liao. So it's a graphic novel prequel to the Ember and the Ashes series. And in this prequel, we follow Darren, who is Leia's brother. And we do get some of Leia, but the story focuses mostly on Darren and how he meets Spiro Telemon, who is a weapons master. He creates weapons, and how that relationship develops. So I enjoyed it. The artwork is okay. It was a nice fast read. Glad I read it because I want to read all of the Ember. I want to read all of Sabaa Tahir. She's an auto-buy. She's an author I want to read to zero. So I'm glad I did read this. I would give it 3.5, 4 stars. It was fine. Then for my 24-hour readathon on New Year's Day, I listened to, this is going to be weird, but this is the way that I got it, and I didn't want to go to the library and check it out. I listened to The Water Princess. I'm pulling up who wrote it. By Susan Verdi, Georgie Badell, Peter H. Reynolds. It's a picture book. Again, I listened to it, so I gave it 3 stars. I wonder if my rating would have been better if I had read the picture book. But this follows the childhood of supermodel Georgie Badiel. I'm not sure how to pronounce her last name. Badiel. She grew up in Burkina Faso, and it's just her story about having to go hours and hours to get water every day and the water insecurity that they face. The narrator was okay. I thought the narrator was a little wooden in her delivery style. I did listen to this off of Hoopla. The other weird thing is that the story played and then it played again. So that was kind of weird. And then it was nice we did hear from Georgie about her life experience and how then, like, her childhood and then how she became a supermodel. So that was interesting. Okay, then I read Tower of Dawn by Sarah J. Maas. This is book 7 in the Throne of Glass series. Now, some people do tandem read Empire of Storms and Tower of Dawn because they do take place at the same time, but it just follows different characters. In this one, we follow Chaol. I can't go. I was about to say more. We follow Chaol and Nesrin and Irene. They are characters in our story. We get further world development as they travel further away from the main action. So that's interesting to see different people and different lands. I did really enjoy the conversation. Irene's a healer. And so one of the big things that she talks about is in order to heal wounds, you not only have to heal the physical wound, you have to heal the mental, emotional wound in order for that physical healing to take place. So I did really appreciate and value those conversations. There's a major plot point and major plot development in this book that was mind-blowing. I was not expecting it. When I read it, I think I screamed out loud, "What?" I immediately started texting a coworker. She is also reading this series. She's a little bit ahead of me in Kingdom of Ash. So, and she'd already read this but when I was reading this. So I was like texting her updates as I was reading. It was like, what's going on here? And it was fascinating because I was thoroughly convinced that there was one character who was like our evil force in this book. And I was like, I think it's this because of this and this and this. And she's like, interesting, keep reading. And then I did figure out who the evil force was. I just didn't figure out how they became the evil force. So yeah, I did enjoy this book. And actually I'm glad I didn't read it in the tandem reading. I think it would have been hard and have taken me out of the story to go back and forth and back and forth. And I also was just like, you know what? The reason why I didn't do the tandem read is when these were originally published and the original readers, they didn't have the luxury to tandem read. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to stick with that and see how that went. Okay. And then I read Most Eligible by Isabel Engel. Excuse me, I need some water. So I read this for, well, I also read, I read this for Tower of Dawn. I read this for Hardest Reading Challenge You Ever Do. I don't remember what prompts I used this for. I think I used this for Romantasy and something else, and I don't know what else, but maybe award winner. So, Most Eligible by Isabel Engel. I used this for her code as the most recently published, so you have to read a book the month that it was published in. And now you have 60 days to read it in, but I was like, I need to keep up with that prompt, because if you fall behind, one, you're toast. If you fall too far behind, because you have 60 days to read that book, but two, I don't want to pile up on that prompt. So the pitch of this book, like, really intriguing. It's about Georgie Rose, she's going undercover on a reality dating show that's really like The Bachelor. It's called The Love Shack. She's not going there to find love. She's going there to write an expose on the producers behind that show. And she's been told, like, if you do this, you will get your dream publication job. Cool. Or journalism job. Cool. So the show is very much like Bachelor coded, and the host of the show was a previous contestant on The Bachelor, and he was a one-night stand with her. And so chaos ensues. I probably would have DNF'd this had I not said I'm reading this for the Hardest Reading Challenge You'll Ever Do. Here's why. Like, the premise was great. I loved it. However, it was a one-night stand, and like, he gets all broody over her as soon as he sees her on the show, and get all like jealous, protective type, and she keeps talking about him and this, one night. I'm sorry, you had a one-night stand. I don't understand why you're feeling so strongly about this person on both sides. I don't get it. It was a one-night stand. Second, so Rhett, he's a country singer star. I'm not really big on country singer stars in books, but so, like, singers, famous people, it's a trope that I'm not a big fan of. He, like I said, he had been on the Bachelor coded show himself as a contestant, and he got married. And when they have that one-night stand, he was married. So yeah, I'm not a fan of adultery. Not at all. Not in my books. Like, I don't even care if you're separated and the divorce is coming, like, or the divorce the paperwork has been finalized, but the divorce papers have been filed, but it's not finalized. It's going through, like, no. If you're still legally married, I don't want you connecting with another person until that marriage is dissolved. To me, I have a problem with that in my books, okay? The other issue that I had that I was like, huh? There's a contestant on here. She uses a wheelchair. Wonderful. I'm glad we have diversity. I'm glad we have inclusion. Don't object to that at all. I think that's wonderful. And it's very clear in the book that she's included on the show and she stays as long as she does on the show because she uses a wheelchair. Not like, again, it's a critique of like these reality shows and how they're really not reality. So that part wasn't surprising. What the problem that I had with it was our main character, Georgia, talks about the fact that she and the contestant who uses a wheelchair, they go upstairs to their bedroom. And I'm like, and more than once, they go upstairs to their shared bedroom that they have on the show, where all the contestants share. And I'm like, do these houses have elevators? Because when I've watched The Bachelor, I've never seen an elevator in the house. So, and to find not one, but two houses that they're filming in that have elevators, it's like interesting. So I don't think that these houses had elevators because they don't mention it at all. It just mentions we went upstairs. So how did someone who uses a wheelchair get upstairs without using their wheelchair and without using an elevator? I don't know. So it like those details just took me out of the story. And now, granted, it had other marks against it where I'm like, it's country singer star, adultery, one night stand, and you're like all broody jealous over a one night stand. Where I'm like, how do you have all these feelings after a one night stand? So yeah, and also like some of the stuff that he did after the one night stand with his ex-wife, just icky. Great premise, terrible execution. 1.5 star, 1.5 maybe, going in my panko shop. All right, then I read First Test by Tamora Pierce. This is book 1 in the Protector of the Small series. It's the 3rd Tortall series. So in that, there is a read-along of the 3 quartets of Tortall that Christy Lewis over at Christy Lewis Dostoevsky in Space, Dia over at Novel Idea, and Victoria over at A Musical Bookworm. They have been doing live discussions on these. I've been enjoying participating in the chat. So in this book, we follow Keldry of Mindolin. She's the first girl to openly study to become a knight. Alana was a girl. She did become a knight, but she kept her identity as a female hidden. This is now like 10 years or so after she has become a female knight. It is now policy that girls can study to become a knight. However, she's the first one to take the king up on that offer. And the trainer is not terribly happy about that and was like, you know what? Fine, I'll take her. But she's on a year of probation. So she goes and she studies to become a knight. She's on a year of probation. And we follow her first year as she studies to become a knight, faces, backlash because she's a girl. And also just there's general hazing and bullying that occurs at this night school and how she deals with that and, studies. I enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. This series, I enjoyed it. It's not my favorite in the Tortallin series. I think The Immortals is my favorite because I love Numair. And then Alana, because I love Alana, I love George. And then this would be my least favorite. But I do appreciate some of the things that are discussed in here. And I love, she makes friends with these little birds around her window. And I just love Crown and the sparrows. So I'll be reading more in that series to reread for me. And then, I forgot to mention, I also listened to, and I don't normally listen to audiobooks, But this was Krista's over at Books and Jams, her Patreon book club. And so I needed to have access to it. It's called The Correspondent by Virginia Evans. 5 huge stars. Like, I'm so glad I listened to it on audiobook. And I normally don't listen to books on audiobook. But all of the narrators, it's full cast audio, all of the narrators had their own distinctive voice. They were excellent. There was not one weak narrator. We follow in The Correspondence, we follow Sybil. She is 73 years old. And she just writes letters to people. She writes letters to her sister-in-law. Her sister-in-law, who was her best friend growing up. She writes letters to her daughter and her son. She writes letters to different authors. She writes letters to an older gentleman on her street, and he writes letters to her. She befriends a boy, Harry, and we watch that relationship unfold as she writes letters to him. And she also writes letters to a gentleman that she meets through a DNA match. She was adopted, and so she puts in her DNA to figure out what is her ancestry, and then things go from there. It just was such a beautiful story of a woman just very intelligent. She had been a lawyer and then a clerk for a judge. The judge that she clerked for, they were lawyers that worked together at a law firm, and then when he became judge, she became his clerk. Just a very intelligent woman dealing with, getting older, the things that come with getting older, dealing with love and loss and grief and processing that. She was adopted, so dealing with, do I try to find my adoptive family or not? How did that being adopted shape her identity growing up? And then how did that also shape how she was a parent and dealing with some of those strained relationships? Holy cow. So good. Have the tissues ready. And this was Virginia Evans' debut fiction book. I think she wrote a memoir. I can't wait to read another book by her. I borrowed the audiobook and I used my Libra FM credit to buy it because I was like, I need to have this. There's a deluxe edition of this book coming out in April. I don't know if I'll get that a deluxe edition or not, but I definitely do want to have a physical copy on my shelf at some point. All right, and then the next set of books, I'm going to just totally blame Tiffany over at Beach Bum Bookworm for this. So she had a short where she was reviewing some of these books in the series, and she made a comment. It's a mafia romance series, and she made a comment in one of the shorts on twisted emotions, because Tiffany makes the comment of like, Nino is the main male character in this one. Nino gives Kiara, the female main character, an interesting wedding gift. And I was like, what is that wedding gift? I need to know. So I read that book. And so in it, Nino, he's a mafia man, and Kiara gets, like, it's an arranged marriage, and Nino is basically like, I don't feel any emotions. You're not going to make me feel emotions. And of course they fall in love. Check trigger warnings for things. So I did enjoy it. It was one of my higher rated ones. It was 4.5 star. I really liked how he treated her and interacted with her. Really liked her. And that was actually in the middle of a series. So I was like, okay. So this family is set in this series, the Twisted series is set in Las Vegas. So I went back and started with book 1, which is Twisted Loyalties, which we follow Fabiano. and he used to be part of the Chicago outfit, and now he works in Vegas, and he meets Leona, who left her mother, moved to Vegas to be with her father, trying to seek a better life for herself, gets caught up in the mafia stuff. It 3.5. I didn't really care for them as a couple that much, and I didn't like how they were enabling some addictive behaviors in people. So that's why I did that one. Then book 3 in the like Kimura family series is Twisted Pride, which follows Remo, and he's the head of the family, and he kidnaps Serafina on her wedding day. I think Serafina is from Chicago. I'm not sure. Yes, she is from Chicago because it's an act of revenge on Fabiano's father. That's a whole other story. Fabiano's father is really bad. He's awful. We learn in earlier books how bad he is. Um, I like Remo as a character, so to find him crack and fall in love was wonderful. There was a scene that kind of towed the line on non-con, which I did not care for. Twisted Bonds, I gave 4 stars. We're back with Nino and Kiara. We get their point of view for events that happen during Twisted Pride. And then it's their journey through fertility issues. And I am loving watching them have children. And that was fun. Then I read Twisted Hearts, I DNF'd Twisted Hearts, which follows Savio and Gianni. Okay, so Saviano starts off the book at 17, and he's just so arrogant and just very arrogant. The reason why I DNF'd it is I didn't understand why Gianni liked Savio. And 2, like so in these mafia romances, the girls get engaged really young, but then they have to wait. They wait until they're legal before they get married. Savio sleeps around, expects Gianni to be pure on their wedding day, and then as soon as they're engaged, he's 20, she's 16, and he starts thinking about her body, talking about her body to her. It was just gross. I'm like, this is gross. I can't read it when we're talking about underage. It's gross. I can't. DNF. Gross. Okay. So then Tiffany's like, well, hey, there's this whole long series. So I went back to the very beginning of all of the Mafia series by Cora Riley, because they're all interconnected. So I did Bound by Honor, which is about Luca. He is from New York. He marries Aria from the outfit in Chicago. Now, Aria is the older sister to Fabiano. So in this book, it was interesting because Aria, Fabiano, who is a main male character in Twisted Something, he's 5. So it was Bobby's 5 running around here. So Luca marries Aria from the outfit, and she's from Chicago. He's from New York. I really liked how Luca took care for Aria. However, he cheats on her 2 days after they're married, because he has to wait to consummate their marriage. 2 days, dude, come on. I have some self-control. I don't like that. The next book in that series is Luca I can't pronounce the last name. It's his first and last name. So we get the events from Bound by Honor. So Bound by Honor is told from Ari's point of view. In this book, we get it now from Luca's point of view. We definitely get more backstory that tells us how he became to be who he is and how he is, and why he's so closed off. We get more of his emotions. He still can't justify what he did with Grace 2 days after his wedding. So Still had a hard time with that. Then I read Bound by Duty. I just started binging mafia romances because I have one more. This is my last mafia romance to talk about. I read like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8 mafia romances in like a week and a half. I don't know who I became. All right, so I read Bound by Duty by Cora Riley. This is Dante and Valentine's story. So Dante is like going to be capo, or like the head of the Chicago outfit. And Dante had been previously married. His wife died from cancer a few years beforehand. Valentine had been previously married. Her husband has also died in a tragic, horrific accident. And of course, it's an arranged marriage. I really loved this story. So Dante is very, like, his nickname is like the Ice King or the Ice Prince because he does not show emotions at all. So I was like, this is going to be fascinating when he finally does start showing emotions. Didn't like where he implied that he accused her of cheating on him, and she didn't. Really didn't like that. But I did like how their relationship developed and how he had to change for her. Like, she really had a horrible life before this and did not let that break her, and stood up to him, like, which was great. Like, she needed to stand up to him. So yeah, I don't know who I am. I also, in January, I did slowly start to read Kingdom of Ash because I was like, I'm going to read one of these a month, but this is like 980 pages. I'm on page 338. So this is the last book in the Throne of Glass series, and the beginning is hard. The beginning is really hard to read, but I'm enjoying it. I also finally started Ghost Story. I'm 280 pages into this, so I definitely do need to finish those in February. And it's like, that sounds wild because I've already read like 600 pages in those two books. That's like a book right there. Or even just what I've read already in those two books alone. Those would be 2 books there for some people. But okay, so the bottom line, the ending stats, I have to go back, is, all right, so I'd started the month with 796 total owned books. I'm ending it with 810. So that's plus 14 books. Now remember, I'm counting the Book of the Month order and the Aardvark order for February. Book of the Month, I had a full box. I bought 5 books from Book of the Month and debated on another book. Like, there's another book that I'm kind of intrigued by, but I want to hear how other people like it because the romances have been hit or miss for me. At the start of January, I had 333 of those books that I had read. I now have read 338, so that's a plus 5. Yay. Total unread is 400. I started the month with 463. I'm finishing the month with 472, so that's plus 9. And then my total percent unread went up by 0.1% to now 58.27. So I do want to bring that number down. We shall see if I can do it. I do have planned I have a pretty hefty TBR for February. We shall see if I can accomplish it. Thank you so much for reading. What was your favorite read for January? My favorite read was The Correspondent, by far. Like, just so wonderful. Go off and read that book. It's just beautiful. It is epistolary, and a lot of people don't like that. It's told through letters, but it's just such a beautifully moving book. So thanks so much for watching. What's your favorite book that you read in January? What are you looking forward to in February? Thanks so much. Bye.